Welcome mga kabago matulog. Joke lang. Joke lang, sobrang hindi ganun. Nilolo- Niloloko ko lang si yung guest natin, baka in-expect niya, oh my God, ano ba itong pinasukan ko? Pero welcome to Bago Matulog with Red Ollero, your favorite weekly night, Wednesday night, something night habit. Or kung prefer nyo makinig on demand, you listen to it on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Hello, my name is Red Ollero. Please do share the stream. Do share tawag dun, the video, the live video right now so that we could get more people in. We have Vice President candidate and Senator Kiko Pangilinan in the house. But before that, let me introduce to you to a less exciting person, and that is Andren Bernardo. Andren?
Gago rin nervous na ako.
What did we get ourselves into again?
Sobrang hindi ako equipped para sa interview.
Salamat po sa mga tao po that joining in. I did say you can join in on the discussion. We will do most of the questioning and the talking here. Pero if we see that you have a worthy question, worthy of asking a vice president candidate and senator, or alam mo yun, yung tipong disenteng tanong, hindi yung pangit na
hindi yung wrong grammar. So wala mga questions ko.
Oo, mga ganun. Yung mga pa-shoutout na yan, hindi natin papansinin yan ngayon. We are a formal talk show. We will talk with some great accents, I guess. So,
ulitin mo
Andren, kamusta ka naman?
Okay lang ako, Red. Yeah. Bibilisan na ako ng corneto kanina. Pero hindi, kasi may diabetes ako. Kaya kumain na lang ako ng oatmeal.
What a great start.
Equal. Yes.
What a great start. Okay. We will play a very unnecessary OBB because we had just did 5 minutes of those jazz, weird, fluting, singing kanina.
Yes.
But I think you can afford another 20 seconds of it. So here's a very unnecessary OBB. And then right after that, we have the interview with Senator Kiko Pangilinan. All right, here it is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our guest tonight is a vice president candidate. It's pretty big, man. It's a big deal. And it's very hard then to be a vice presidential here in the Philippines in what I think is going to be the most talked about and most intense elections ever na experience ko.
The WrestleMania of elections.
The WrestleMania of elections.
Yes.
The showcase of immortals.
It has come to this.
It has come to this. Okay. That will happen on May 2022. But we have now a vice president candidate and senator. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the Bago Matulog Zone, Kiko Pangilinan.
Hi guys. Hello. Hi Red and Andren and to your viewers on Facebook. Magandang gabi. Good evening sa kanilang lahat.
Thank you,
Magandang gabi po, sir. How are you doing? Alam ko po medyo stressful na po maging legislator sa bansang ito, and I'm pretty sure mas stressful pa dahil in-announce niyo po being the running mate of Leni Robredo in the upcoming elections. How's it been so far?
Okay naman. I've accepted my fate. and sometimes there are matters that are in your hands. And therefore, the matters that are in your hands, you work on it. But there are also matters that aren't in your hands. Yun, sinusurrender ko na lang. At basta gagawin ko lang yung aking gagawin. At ano man ang resulta, dito tayo dinala ng Diyos, ika nga eh. Hindi naman natin ito pinlano. Umiiwas pa nga tayo. Pero ganun. Duty.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Speaking of duty, sir, as in I feel like for you to be such a tenured tawag dun, tenured person in politics and in public service, may certain mindset, no, that you have to go in. Like I would say I wouldn't compare it to being a stand-up comedian, pero as a stand-up comedian, parang
Well,
kailangan
meron din, ha? May mga politikong, diba? Tatawa-tawa. Hindi. Okay lang.
Zing! Pow!
zing, there you go. No, pero what I'm saying, sir, is parang uh merong hardships of whatever you pursue, eh. And titiisin mo lang talaga yung hardships na yun because parang calling mo siya or you're built for
Yeah.
that or anything. What was like a turning point in your life na parang okay, I want to be in the public service and I want to be here for a long time?
Well, si Sharon and I were talking about it just before I decided to run for vice president. And she reminded me nung anong sinabi ko sa kanya noon, this was probably a few years ago, na yung paglilingkod at service is all that I've known since third year high school. No? I was in the student council sa Lasal nung third year high school, and then fourth year high school. I was in charge. I was chairman of the intramurals coordinating board, which meant that yung high school intrams from first year to fourth year, about 10 sections per year, 4 years. So that's, marami. For 160 classes. Ako naghumawak nung fourth year ko. Dalawa kami. Yung co-chair ko tsaka ako. So, ano yun? Ano yung intramurals board? Lahat ng games ng mga classes, yung interclass ng mga chess, football, basketball, volleyball, baseball, lahat. From August, fourth year high school ako doon. From August to December. Yung pinaka-finals ng lahat ng mga elimination na yun, from August to December. December bago mag Christmas break. So, I did that in my third year. I did that in my fourth year. So,
matagal na.
Oo, matagal na akong parang leader. Leader na naglilingkod. Yun nga lang, hindi politika yun, di ba? That was just, pure service to the students. Naging politicized na lang ako nung naging college na ako at nung binaril si Ninoy. No? Hindi pa nga nakakaapak sa tarmac, pinatay na. No? And doon ako parang nagising sa realidad na hindi tama yung nangyayari sa bansa. Sa nakakita, 3,000 daw na armed forces ang nag-secure sa airport. Tapos nakalusot daw yung isang communist guerrilla. Yun ang sinasabi sa amin. No?
Yeah.
At galing sa likod ng hagdanan, biglang lumabas at binaril si Ninoy. Di ba? Kaso ang problema, yung trajectory ng bala, pa ganun.
Pababa, yes. Oo.
So paano yung nanggaling sa likod ng
kasi nasa hagdanan si Ninoy, 'di ba? Tama ba?
Oo, tsaka yun na nga. Tsaka paano yung ganyan silang baril, 'di ba?
Ganun siya bumaril. Parang
diba?
Scorpion.
So ang daming mga hindi pwedeng maipaliwanag doon sa mga pangyayari, which really opened my eyes na 'di ba? Kasi nungalingan ang kinakalat para lokohin ng tao. And that was my political awakening. And then from there, 84, 85, I ran for student council in my college. Pero ibang iba nang larangan. It was really student activism already and marching in the streets, parliament of the streets. Of course, fighting for student welfare issues. I became representative of the students, 25,000 students sa UP system. I sat in the board. I was appointed to sit as student rep. And so the student issues I had to carry sa Board of Regents. So yun ang yun yung actually naging opening ko sa public service. Hindi politika ng eleksyon, no? Kundi yung student and youth representation and fighting for student rights and welfare and organizing students. So ganun.
Pero tuloy-tuloy sir, ang laki na ng ano ngayon. And now you're going for the second highest position ngayon sa
Oh yeah,
gobyerno.
because
It's,
after my, yun na nga, so after
Mm.
I became my term as student lead student council president and student regent finished, the first local elections in after the restoration of democracy was 1988, and I ran in the district where UP Diliman is located.
I see.
So yun yung entry ko sa Philippine electoral politics. And then after that, I ran for Congress. Yun, hindi ako tinala, di ka nga. But it was a good fight. And then, ayun. And then after that, nag-national na a few years later.
Yun na yung ano. And then now you're here.
Yeah.
Medyo intense ang medyo intense ang laban.
Yeah.
Oo. It's
Yeah.
ano.
Sa akin kasi, tinanggap ko na ito, gagawin natin ang lahat, at tatanggapin natin kung ano man ang resulta. Ang importante sa akin, may papaliwanag ko sa mga anak ko na nung meron akong isang leader na pinaniniwalaan na palagay ko, mailalagay niya sa ayos yung problema ng bansa, lalo na dito sa COVID at yung malinis at tapat na panunungkulan. Dahil malala na ang nangyayari sa bansa, COVID nandiyan pa, marami pa rin ang nagkakasakit at marami pa rin ang namamatay at walang trabaho. Hindi ko naman masasabi sa anak ko na, alam mo, may pagkakataon sana akong, di ba, makialam.
Yeah.
Baka nga tanungin sa akin ng mga apo ko Di ba kasi yung parents ko, ang pinag-uusapan lagi, hindi man lagi, but conversation is yung panahon ng hapon. Ano yung ginagawa mo nung panahon ng hapon? Kasi matinding krisis yun, di ba? Sinakop tayo ng mga dayuhan. Di ba? Maraming namatay, maraming nawalan ng bahay, etc. So parang ngayon ganun din, di ba? Sinakop tayo ng virus, sinasakop tayo ng China, maraming namamatay, marami ang nagkakasakit, maraming nawalan ng trabaho. Baka tanungin ng apo ko, di ba? Lolo, nung panahon ng pandemya at talagang krisis, ang tindi, anong ginagawa mo? Parang,
oo nga.
Di ba?
Parang ano siya, parang Spider-Man mentality, sir. Parang with great power comes great responsibility. Ganun din talaga siya
Yung ang sama naman isipin, alam mo, apo ko, may chance ako, pero sabi ko, ayoko Kasi sarili ko lang inisip ko. Kaya may plano kasi ako na re-election lang, kaya yun na lang ang ginawa ko, di ba? So, yun lang. It's duty. Duty lang. Win or lose, duty.
Very simple.
We stood up, we made a stand. We believe that Vice President Lenny is the most deserving. And she asked for my support. And I want her to win. And I felt if I said no, there will be implications. Kasi ang balak na niya, sabi niya kung ganun din at maintindihan ko pagka hindi mo tinanggap itong hiling ko at yung offer, magpa-file daw siya, wala nang vice president. Ano lang, siya lang. Sabi ko mahirap ata yun. So, yun.
Kailangan may kasama.
Yes.
Yeah,
At siyempre, kinukumbinsin mo yung buong Pilipinas, pero yung vice president mo, hindi mo makumbinsin. Parang, diba?
That's kind of bad.
Oh, that's kind. Tsaka ano rin, sir, parang yun din yung pinaka problema din no. You're convincing the whole nation. That's what we're trying to campaign right now. Sa mga taong hindi pa gets kung ano ang political stance ko, I'm very much pro Lenny Kiko. So, ewan ko sa inyo kung magtaka pa kayo. Sa content ko pa lang, alam niyo na dapat yun. Tawag doon, it's such a, kasi ako, once I show my stance, na pag-usapan natin kanina, medyo meron na kagad mga magagalit. Alam mo yun, they're very vocal. In every post that I do, kahit hindi naman related sa politics, may mga tao nang babash sa akin and everything. And you willingly put up yourself because of duty, sinabi mo nga, on such intense scrutiny just for running for VP, believing what's right sa sarili mo. What kind of preparation kaya? Has your political career prepared you for the amount of bashing na meron ngayon? Kasi iba na yung laban ngayon.
Yeah.
Well, alam ko naman kasi yung bashing na yan, troll-driven yan eh. Merong troll influence, di ba? At maintindihan ko dahil akala nila totoo yung pinagkakalat ng mga troll kasi nungalingan naman. Kanina lang may nagsabi na ako daw bumoto kontra sa Bayanihan 2 kasi ayoko ng ayuda. Which is really false. Yes, I voted against Bayanihan 2 on third reading because on second reading, the amount that we approved was 236 billion. Tapos, sabi ng Malacanang at ng Executive Department, hindi nila i-veto nila kung mababa, kung masyadong mataas. In other words, sila ang nagsabi baba. Sila ang nagsabi kailangan babaan yan. So, na-approve na namin ng 263 billion. Pagdating sa third reading, 160 billion na lang.
Wow.
So I said
Kaya
yes
hindi
to
kayo nag-sign.
Yes, I said yes to 236 billion. Yan ang kailangan ng tao, suporta, ayuda, assistance. Eh nung biglang third reading, 160 na lang. Sabi ko, hindi yan ang inaprubahan natin nung second reading. Usually, ang third reading, ano na lang yan eh, ministerial. Ano nangyari? Pumasok ang executive department
Iniba.
at sinabing babaan ninyo.
Yun.
Masyadong malaki yung 263. Kaya lang naman boboto ko sa, o sige, boboto tayong lahat. Pabor tayong lahat na bawasan yung ayuda. Yun ang nangyari dyan.
Wow.
Siyempre, may mga nagsisinungaling at nagkakalat ng kalokohan na kaya ako bumoto against kasi gusto ko walang ayuda yung mga... In fact, the record will show I voted yes to 236 billion and the final amount is 160 billion. Kung ikaw nasa di ba? Ano sasabihin mo kung bumoto akong kontra? Pabor kasi ako sa mas mababa. Eh di ba baliktad?
Tama.
So, yeah.
Tapos,
Anyway,
siyempre, the way people spin it around just to scrutinize, di ba? It's such a... Tapos, ang dali mag-viral niyan kasi it's such an easy headline to just disseminate. Pag sinabi, ayaw ng VP candidate ng ayuda because di niya sinainan yung second reading, which is pag binasa mo yung totoong nangyari. Third reading, sorry.
Kasi binawasan. So, yeah, ako, well, you know, I still believe sa dulo, mananaig pa rin ng katotohanan.
Ayun.
No?
Tama.
Kailangan lang magtulungan para mailabas yung totoo. And a lot of our supporters are doing that. Exactly, na explaining na no, he voted no on third reading, not because he didn't want ayuda. He voted no because the final ayuda proposed was 73 billion less than what he voted for.
Laki nun.
That's a lot.
Yes.
That's a lot of
and
a lot of money.
And that will spell the difference between whether families will be able to eat.
Yeah,
diba?
73 billion. That's a lot, dude.
It was the executive department that reduced it and slashed and disagreed with the Senate, saying that 263 billion is too much for ayuda and stimulus. Will only agree to 160. So, yung nagsabing bumoto ako dahil ayoko ng ayuda, obviously, kasi nungalingan yun. Sayang lang. At kung nakikinig siya, sana, di ba, baguhin niya. Wag niya ikakalat yung fake news at disinformation.
Totoo.
You were saying earlier, Red, na, okay, therefore, how do you deal with it? Ako.
Yes, exactly. I was gonna say parang how do we deal with these fake news?
Di ba yung F1 race car driver na aksidente, di ba? It's part of the occupational hazards, di ba? Yung electrician nakukuryente, yung bombero na, di ba? Tinatamaan ng apoy na di ba? Nagkakaroon ng burns, di ba? Nasusunog kang katawan, etc. So kasama sa trabaho, kung mahina ang dibdib natin at hindi tayo, di ba, kung mag-give up tayo, edi ano na nangyari sa mga advocacies natin. Lalo na ako, ang isinusulong natin, of course, is support for our farmers and fisherfolk. At despite all the criticisms, bashing na sinasabing wala tayong nagawa, na hindi rin totoo, naipasa natin yung isang landmark piece of legislation, yung COCO Levy Trust Fund Measure. Tayo ang principal author niyan. Tayo rin ang principal author ng amendments to the Organic Act. And ito, yung Sakip-Saka Act. So, sa akin, we will suffer if we have to, because that's part of the job. But as long as we're focused on doing our job, that's the most important thing.
Pero now more than ever, like we said, how that fake news was spun into something na mabuti yung ginawa mo, it was spun around to be terrible to your image and everything. It's such a different landscape na ngayon. Do you think it's something that can be solved, yung pagpapalaganap ng fake news and disinformation?
Yeah, everything can be solved in the long run, no? As long as we put our heads together. I mean, we're thinking human beings. In college, we're trained in problem solving, diba? Every midterms, every finals, diba? Ano solusyon sa mga sa mga problemang ilalabas sa iyo, whether it's a math problem or an essay problem or a case study problem, diba? So we just have to put our heads together, and this is really the citizens themselves, legislation, regulation of fake news, against fake news. The social media platforms, Google, Facebook, etc., should also take a stand against Facebook and come up with more, stringent measures to prevent it, disinformation, and even corporate and the advertising industry. Kasi may mga ads yung mga sites na yan kumikita, di ba? Ine-enable nila yung pinagkakakitaan yung kasinungalingan, di ba? So dapat yung ad agencies take a stand. Do we want this kind of arrangement na yung algorithms na popondohan itong basura na kinakalat or not? I believe the may self-regulation ng advertising agencies, yung 4As ba, na isang tenet nila, we do not spread lies, di ba? We do not, parang hindi dapat truth in advertising, di ba? And of course, yung corporate world, the San Miguel corporations, the PLDTs, di ba, other companies, di ba, na nagpa-fund yan, Globe, Smart, di ba? Tanong nila, saan ba napupunta yung aming advertising sa digital? Napupunta ba dito sa mga fake news sites? Kasi magandang algorithm. Kasi kung hindi, kung ganun, kung totoo yun, wag. You can tell your advertising agency, wag natin dadalhin dun sa mga nagkakalat ng fake news. Pwede yun. Patulungan lang.
Ako naging kasama ko sa ad ng Selecta recently. Tapos, may mga tao na parang nagugulat ako na nakikita nila yung ad sa, ano ba yun? Parang, parang, ano tong content, parang naparad ko yung ad mo sa isang video na parang ang layo-layo dapat sa ad. So parang, there's something off with the algorithm how they disseminate everything, no?
Yeah. And that's something that really has to be looked into. Kasi, yung Unilever nga sabi nila, di nila naiintindihan yung ginagawa ng mga yung algorithm na yan at hindi transparent yung Google tsaka yung Facebook. They pulled out their ads. They said we will do it differently. And kumita pa sila after.
Kasi nabawasan yung ad spend nila.
Medyo nakakatawa yung silver swan soy sauce nasa fake news. Like, video.
Diba?
Medyo weird.
Your ad could be playing
diba?
on a fake news video.
My chocolatey buddy.
Tapos fake news yung...
And I'm sure, the owners, this company, these CEOs are responsible, di ba? Kung alam nilang doon nilalaro yung mga, do they want to be associated with all these lies and garbage that are being spread? Of course not. But of course, they have to go beyond saying wala kaming magagawa dyan dahil algorithms yan.
That's
diba? So sana ganun. Everybody has to come together because ultimately, and I was telling this to one CEO of a corporation. Sabi ko, eventually, your competitor. Diba? What will stop your competitor from spreading fake news and spending millions to bring you down? Diba? Sabihin, naalala ko yung dating fake news, yung gawa daw sa pusa yung mamunlok siopaw. Kaya, naalala niyo ba yun?
Oh.
Oh, di ba?
May whiskers yung
Actually,
laman.
meron ding Kowloon House eh. Meron ding Kowloon
Oo.
House na rumor
Oh,
na
di ba?
gawa doon
So,
sa pusa.
pero can you imagine kung yung competitor mo engages in, di ba?
Exactly.
Disinformation to bring you
Yeah.
down, di ba? Hindi dapat.
And kunari, kung kalaban mo yung Mamunluk, they could really just fund that fake news and spread it around, 'di ba? Ganun naman
Yeah.
talaga eh. Yun ang
Exactly.
warfare. Eh. That's the
Yes.
PR warfare we're talking about.
Yun
Bukas
nga.
ang puwit
So,
ng pusa, yung siomay nila, di ba?
di ba? Parang gano'n, di ba? Na fake naman. Kasi ako,
Cat
kumakain ako
asshole.
ng paborito ko yan eh. Doon si May Banawe. Pinupuntahan ko pa yan eh.
Sa may Giaraneta, malapit sa
Yeah.
LRs. Oh.
Yeah. So,
Sobrang
yun.
ano.
So we all have to come together. The
Exactly.
community, the stakeholders should come together and say, diba, let's do something about this information because it's a threat to democracy and it's a threat to civility and diba, and basic fundamental I don't know, rights. Yeah, rights of
It's
an
such a
individual.
it's such a parang I think yes, corporates and ad agencies take a stand. Pero at the same time, at the consumer level, I feel like meron din dapat ethical stand yung mga tao.
Oh
And
yeah,
they
that's right.
we can also regulate the amount of trolls sa Facebook because these are not real people. It could be one person controlling 70 accounts for all
Yeah.
we know.
That's right.
Um,
500 pa nga yung kwento nung
Oh.
isa eh.
Iba yun. Parang, kahit may mga pictures nung may pader na may mga cellphone, di ba?
Yeah.
Totoong businesses yun sa mga ibang, sa mga ibang
Yeah, sa
bansa.
TikTok, ginagawa nila yun
Oh.
para tumaas ang views.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you're right. And I think one is if you're a real human being, I mean, you're not a troll. I mean, if you're a real person, di ba, you also have to be vigilant. Baka mamaya yung sinishare mo fake news, di ba? Di kasama ka na sa
exactly. Yun din,
sa
naging part of the
disinformation.
problem ka pa
Sa
dyan.
mga
Yes.
nanonood, madali lang spot kung fake news. Kung pangit yung font, malamang siguro.
Pangit yung font,
Pangit yung picture.
pangit yung grammar. Alam niyo naman yan eh. I mean, meron
Yeah.
mga ganda, pero pag obvious na fake news na, wag yun ang
Oo,
tulungan yung pag-spread around, di ba? Yun na yun eh.
Be vigilant. Be vigilant.
At the
Sabi
same
nila-
time naman, for the social media platforms, we have now technology to verify actual people using the
That's
phone.
called Google.
We have
That's
facial recognition.
That's right.
We can submit proper government IDs for verification. Ilalagay lang yun sa registration ng Facebook. O hindi ka pwedeng
Yeah.
gumawa ng account kung wala kang valid ID. Kung wala
Yeah.
kang selfie na ikaw
Yeah.
talaga tong
That's
gumagamit.
right. That's
Posible
right.
siya eh. Hindi siya imposible. So,
and you know-
alam mo yun, very possible.
And this orchestrated, calibrated bashing, di ba? On the
May
one
script. May script, di ba?
hand. At saka, yung mga anonymous accounts,
Yeah.
di ba? And they bash, and they bully, di ba? Halimbawa, sa eskwelahan, gagawa ng 10 fake account, tapos titirahin yung kaklase dahil binubully. It's actually enabling bullying, number one, yung walang, di ba, anonymity, enables
Yeah.
bullying. Lalo sila lumalakas ang loob. And
Wala
at the
silang
same time,
accountability.
yung suicide rates. I
Exactly.
think the single act of requiring that anyone who has an account must register as a real person with a valid ID, I think that will really have a big impact on anonymous accounts.
Tama kayo,
Which-
Sir Kiko. Tama
Diba?
kayo,
Which
Sir
are
Kiko. Kasi
utilized precisely for all
it's so
these.
easy to log in na sa Facebook. Like, 2 steps lang. Like, you just need anything and you can just log in now. Hindi
Exactly.
mo na kailangan ng verification.
Kaya malakas ang loob ng marami dyan. Kunwari, si ganito siya, si ganyan. Tapos, hindi naman ganyan ang totoong tao. Pero yung tao na under the cloak of anonymity and enabled by this hype machine, di ba? Has become a machine na rin. Naging heartless na rin. Wala nang puso. Makina na rin.
Makina na talaga. Mm-mm.
Kasi walang face-to-face eh.
Exactly.
Diba? Walang human to human. May
I mean-
makina sa gitna.
Yeah, 90% of what you say to people, like, I would get bad feedback from content. Corny mo, hindi ka nakakatawa. Nobody has said that to me sa face to face. Wala pa nagsasabi sa akin nun.
Siyempre,
You're
di
a
ba?
big dude.
No
Fuck
matter
them up,
how
Red.
much I offend a crowd,
Yeah.
I've never been told to my face ng corny mo, wag ka na mag-ano. Pero sa
Yeah.
Facebook, one video probably has like 1,000 of
Yeah, because
those.
these guys are cowards, dude. Cowards,
But
man.
hindi kasi
Oh,
nga,
yun
yun
pala
na
eh.
yung
Cowards.
tama yung sabi
Yeah.
ni Sir Kiko, hindi na sila human. They becomes machine. Hindi na
Yeah.
human yung interaction na nangyayari. Kasi
Yeah,
may anonymity.
Dehumanized na. Hindi na tao. Makina
Exactly.
na. Maging pusong makina na. Wala nang puso. Makina na.
Wala ng puso at all. Yeah. Oo. Okay.
Oh,
That was a good conversation on
yeah.
on people being terrible on the online. Pero kanina minention mo kanina about what the bills you've authored, yung Sagip Saka law and everything. I did mention kanina na nag-pre-talk tayo na agriculture is one thing that I really want to talk about, and who better to talk about than a person who authored this law. So okay, I have some
Halimbawa,
gripes.
itong si may nagsabi dito, si Pangilinan, sana all, ha 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 ha. Wala yung pangalan niya eh. Kaya ba niyang sabihin sa akin diretso yun, di ba?
Hindi. For sure.
Di ba?
Diba?
Kasi nga malakas ang loob niya dahil, di ba, may makina sa gitna niya, nagta-type lang siya, pwede. Pero yung yung tunay na taong harapan, hindi gagawin yan.
Yeah.
So pag-isipan din natin, tayo ba ay nagiging di ba, nag-iiba ang pagkatao natin dahil dito sa mga Facebook na ito. Kasi kung ganun, iba kang tao sa totoong buhay, yung harapan, iba kang tao sa makina.
Iba.
Di ba? Magpakatotoo ka sana.
Iba yung
Anyway.
nakikita mo yung mata ng iniinsulto mo eh. Alam mo yun? Iba talaga yun. Iba talaga, promise. Yung mga tao, syempre, hindi nila, kaya akong gawin yan. Gusto mo magkita tayo. Pero hindi ka na mas disipin. Diba? May mga ganun eh. Ang engot mo na lang pag ginawa mo yun, diba? Anyways, okay. Ang daming but I want to talk about agriculture. May nagtanong dito from the audience, si Papu De Leon. He's a very good improviser. Improv actor yan, si Papu. Bakit po kaya tila na pag-iwanan ng bansa natin in terms of farming techniques? Bakit parang very feudal pa rin ang setup sa atin? Do you have plans to address this po?
Yes. In fact, we had suggested and si Vice President Lenny agreed, no, na taasan talaga ang budget ng agriculture. So, kung tayo ay mabigyan ng pagkakataon, the proposal is to double the agri budget in its first year, no? Na-neglect talaga ang agri natin.
Super.
Napag-iwanan talaga. In the same way, and this is yung principle that if you want to secure your food, you first secure the ones who produce it. Diba?
Yes, exactly.
So you secure your farmers and you secure your fisher folk. So I agree, no? Backward ang ating agriculture. Hindi natin ginagastusan. 3 or 4 times ang budget ng Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia compared to their population. Kung ikukumpara sa Pilipinas. So napag-iwanan talaga tayo.
We are very naturally rich.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, no?
Oh.
It's an agricultural country and yung mga nababayaran ng
exactly. We import our rice, which is para sa akin sobrang wild.
Just to give you an idea, no? Thailand exports 39 billion dollars worth of agricultural products a year, no? We export 6 billion dollars. So that's
and we have more land than them, right?
Yeah. Well, they have more land mass, but we have more ocean. Exactly. You know, here's the thing, okay, closer to home. Thailand, at one point, was the largest exporter of canned tuna in the world.
Okay.
But they don't have tuna belts. We have 3 in the Philippines. We have one in the Pacific, we have one in South China, West Philippine Sea, South China Sea, and we have one in the Sulu Sea, Gensan, Mindanao. So, 3 yung ating tuna belts, yun yung dumadaan yung tuna. Bakit ang Thailand ang number 1 sa canned tuna? Kasi may technology sila. Kasi kinukuha nila sa high seas yung tuna, and tayo, yun na nga. Hindi kasi nag-i-invest sa agriculture. And I think the whole thing can be corrected, but it has to begin with finally recognizing the value and
Yes.
importance of our farmers and fisher folk rather than neglecting them and keeping them poor and disempowered. So talagang it starts with may respeto ba tayo sa pagsasaka
Yun.
o wala? At sa totoo lang, centuries of exploitation, centuries of oppression, and centuries of discrimination has brought us to really have no high regard for farmers, di ba? Pagka ikaw yung bumabagsak sa school, nangangamote, bakit naman may kasalanan yung kamote? Kamote lang yun. Bakit negative?
Oo nga, no? It's,
Di ba? Tapos
cultural pala.
tapos ikaw zero, zero. Ang mga ano mo, bagsak, nangingitlog.
Nangitlog.
Agriculture na naman.
Tama.
Poultry farms naman ang tinitira. Tapos yung wala kang kinabukasan, pupulutin ka sa kangkungan. Kangkungan na, di ba? O kaya yung di ba? O, the Kalabasa Award. Bakit? Kasi, Bokya, zero. Kalabasa. Bakit puro negative pagka agriculture, di ba? Mali eh.
Tama.
And that's because centuries of neglect, discrimination. In fact, yung pinaka-worst na pwede mong tawagin sa yung kanyang economic status, hampas lupa.
Oo nga.
Ano ibig sabihin ng hampas lupa? Literally, it's tilling the soil. Nagbubungkal.
Nag-phone ng soil.
Yan ang mga nagpapakain sa atin. Kung wala yung mga yan, wala tayong bigas sa hapagkainan. Gugutumin tayo. Pero ganun ang tingin natin. Di ba? Mali. It has to change.
I was gonna ask about that kasi I feel like culturally, yung respect natin for these kinds of workers, yun nga, as you pointed out with like several very, very good examples. Ganun nga talaga ang nangyayari. Once we fix that, kasi ako, honestly, meron akong pantasya na bumili ng farm somewhere and just plant some fruit-bearing trees or mga vegetables and do that and prosecute. Mahirap, oo. Hindi ko naman sinasabing ako lang gagawa, Andren. Mahirap nun.
Mahirap. But that's when you actually go through farming, like I have for the past 10 years. Tinamaan din ako ng Glenda, direct hit. Nawasak yung aking nursery, ubos yung punla ko. Yung aking mga existing na nakatanim na lettuce, ready for harvest in another week, ubos lahat. So, kulang-kulang mga 250 to 300,000 ang nasira sa akin.
Wow.
Pero, so naisip ko kung ako yun, doon ko nakita, grabe yung dinadanas ng ating mga magsasaka. At doon ko rin nakita yung respeto na matapos tamaan ng bagyo, kalamidad, magtatanim ulit.
Iba-iba pa eh. Like I remember Taal Ashfall also affected.
Yeah, iba-ibang sakuna. Pero they will plant again.
Exactly.
That is their purpose, di ba? That is their and doon mo makikita yung tibay ng dibdib tsaka yung talagang dedikasyon sa kanilang di ba? Sa kanilang trabaho and sa kanilang profession, if you can call it, di ba? In their calling, which is to feed our people. Sabi nga ni Frankie, when she was 9 years old, she's already 20 now, no? And we should treat our farmers like our parents. She was 9. Because they're the ones they're the ones who feed us. Di ba? They're the ones who feed us.
Grabe. Ako wala ako sinabing gano'n nung 9 years old ako. Parang ang pinakapagpinong sinabi ko sa...
Ako nung 9 years old ako, I was the same age as her. Oh, di ba? Then.
That's a good joke, sir. Okay. Speaking of yun nga, we want to know kung anong ma-educate. Ito, may nagtanong dito again, si Gabriel Angelo Pascual. Posible po kaya, Senator Kiko, na i-align ng education ng mga bata towards modern agriculture dahil napag-iiwanan na po tayo ng ibang countries tulad ng Thailand? If yes po, paano po kaya gagawin ito?
Well, that's true. Pwede. Dapat talaga. In fact, that's why we the Sagip-Sakal law. Kasi ngayon, yung support for farmers, we have to mobilize national, local government, private sector around farmers and fisher folk. Private sector should step in, give them incentives to invest, and help and become sources of, di ba, the market. Government will also buy directly sa farmers. And merong training yan, entrepreneurship. What we have to do really sa Sagip-Saka is how you move away from subsistence farming, yung isang kahig, isang tuka, to farm enterprise management and development. Pag ginawa mo na yan, marami ng bagong henerasyon ng mga kabataan gusto nang pumasok sa agrikultura. Pero kailangan benchmark sa incomes. So, simple, halimbawa, now, since LGUs are buying directly sa farmers, wala nang public bidding, diretso na, at market prices, one multi-purpose cooperative, 2019, hindi pa makabili yung local government sa kanila kasi kailangan pa ng public bidding, hindi pa napasa yung batas. 7.2 million ang kanilang benta ng agricultural products. Nung kasagsagan ng lockdown the following year, 13 LGUs bought directly sa Kamsur Multipurpose Cooperative. Hindi pa tapos yung October, 62 million na ang benta nila kasi gobyerno na ang bibili. So that's almost times 9.
Yeah.
So when yung mga bata, alam nila ganyan na pala ang kalakaran. Milyon na ang pwedeng ibenta at may revenue na. In fact, dun sa Bula, Kamsur, yumaman yung kooperatiba. Yun ang exact term ng manager ng kooperatiba. Kasi bumibili ng direkta sa tamang presyo yung mga local governments. You know, pag local government ang bumili, in some instances, times 4, times 5 yung presyo per kilo. Kita mo yung kinikita ng middleman, bibili niya ng piso, bibenta niya ng 5 piso.
Exactly. Sobrang wild. Tapos sobrang kawawa yung farmers.
Exploited. That's the exploitative nature of the agriculture supply chain. Diba? Talagang iipitin. Bibilin yung kanyang palay, 17 pesos. Diba, per kilo. 3 buwan, 3 linggo at 3 araw niyang binantayan yung palayan. Tapos 17 pesos a kilo. Ba't di mo bigyan ng kapasidad na gilingin niya? Because pag giniling mo yung palay, you sell it at rice at double the price.
Yes.
Doble na. Di ba? Binili
And
mo.
it's just equipment between that.
Yes. No? Yes. So yun yung Sagip-Saka. It's actually farmers, enterprise, entrepreneurship, development.
Iba yung entrepreneurship, Senator. Kasi I would see sometimes images dati, naalala ko, of surplus harvests na nakadump lang sa, kunwari, may nakita akong image of tomatoes. Dami, kamatis, bundok, gabundok, nandun lang. Wala na, kasi sobra daw, ganyan-ganyan, walang bumibili. If they knew how to process it, like say, preserve it, maybe turn it into sun-dried tomatoes or something, can it.
Logistics, can it.
They could definitely, di ba?
Tomato paste. Totoo. So technology. Yung coconut water. Water sells for $1 a kilo landed cost sa US.
$1 a kilo.
$1 a liter.
Yeah.
$1 a liter.
A liter, that's expensive. That's pretty.
Yeah, but we, one coconut, 5 coconuts is 1 liter.
Yeah, okay. More or less.
So, we produce 15 billion nuts. Hindi pa kasama yung mga nasa gobyerno, katulad ko. But we produce 15 billion nuts. We have more coconut trees than people. We have around 360 plus 60 million. 360 million coconut trees producing 15 billion nuts. That's 3 billion liters of cocoa water. But you know how much the biggest cocoa water company in the Philippines is producing a month? Maybe around 2 million kilos at most. 2 million liters rather. 2 million liters at most. So that's just 36. That's the biggest company. So that's about 24 million liters. Ano nangyari dun sa 2 billion 980 million? Tapon lang. Kasi walang technology.
What? Sobrang wild.
Daming buko juice nun, dude.
Yep. Healthy pa.
Healthy pa. Sarap pa. Actually.
So that's why investments in agriculture is important. when we double the investments in the budget of DA, that's the signal to the agro-industrial enterprises that we are taking agriculture seriously. And then they too will be inspired and will also put out their money. Kasi sabi nila, hindi naman ginagastusan ng gobyerno, ninanakaw pa. Ba't kami maglalabas ng pondo? Government is just 20% of GDP, not even a little under 20% of GDP. 80% of our GDP, which is what we produce, di ba, is private sector. So if you inspire private sector,
inspire the private sector. Yeah, exactly.
Then who have the deepest pockets, di ba? Then you will have agriculture, di ba? Capital investments in capital flow into agriculture and investment. Yun. So going back to the question, talagang secure your farmers, provide them the necessary support, and you will eventually secure your food. Bakit? And this is the simple explanation. Pagka sinuportahan mo yung magsasaka, tataas ang kanyang ani. Di ba? At kita. Pag tumaas ang ani, dadami ang supply ng pagkain. Pag dumami ang supply ng pagkain, babagsak ang presyo ng pagkain. Magiging mura na, can afford na, abot kaya na, mawawala na yung gutom. Ngayon kasi 70% ng mahihirap ang kanilang income napupunta sa pagkain eh. Di ba? Kulang pa. Kulang pa ang kinakain. So yun, secure your farmers, you will have ample supply of agricultural products and food. Food prices will go down, whether it's pork, beef, rice, vegetables.
Mahal na ng pork na yun.
Yeah. And then mawawala na ang gutom. Yun lang yun.
Yeah.
Lahat makikinabang. Lahat.
Yun nga. Yun yung astig doon eh. Kasi lahat talaga, I mean, what is there to lose with more food? Yes. And speaking from a fat man, I know na medyo ano yan, tawag doon, very obvious for me. Pero I think agriculture is such a parang we should be a very juggernaut na agriculture.
Dami. The potential is so huge. The description nga ni Secretary Willie Dar, it's a sleeping giant. I was only talking of cocoa water, yung 3 billion liters. Yung cocoa husk.
Oh my God.
Nuts. Yung cocoa husk can be made into cocoa coir, which is used for prevent soil erosion. Yung mga nasa Cavite at Laguna, pag dumaan ka sa Calax, makikita mo yung embankment, puro cocoa coir yun. That's 30% the price, 70% cheaper than cement embankments.
Is it such a huge undertaking ba, Senator, kaya hindi natin siya ginagawa for all these years? O hindi naman?
Hindi. Well, it's
hindi lang talaga siya cool gawin, parang ganun.
Now, what's hindering the progress?
What's hindering the progress?
Well, I'll go back to my point earlier. We don't value it. We don't see its importance collectively.
Hindi siya cool no? Parang ganun.
It's not cool.
Kaya, why do you neglect something? Kasi sa'yo hindi mahalaga eh. Diba?
Yes, that's right.
Dito nga, worse, hindi mo lang ni-neglect. Diba? Yung Napoles was actually agriculture funds. Ninakaw mo pa.
Oo nga.
Diba yung dapat mapunta sa mga magsasaka? Because they're disempowered, because they're powerless, they're not as organized as they ought to be. And, nobody really speaks for them.
Yun.
Diba?
The simple fact lang na they're making the fucking food for you. Diba?
Wala, hindi nga talaga.
Kaya nga if you frame it that we should treat them like our parents, as Frankie did when she was 9, diba? Do you steal from your parents? Diba? What kind of society? Exactly. What kind of, diba? Do you diba? Do you neglect and abandon your parents? You look down upon them? No, you respect them. You give them the support that they need. Diba? You love them and you recognize their sacrifices. That's how we should treat our farmers and our fisher folk.
I will go on a very weird route now and quote a Filipino rapper, si Glock 9.
Hell yeah.
Gustong-gusto ko tong line na to. He said, sa kanila na galing ang bigas, di ka ba nagtataka bakit meron pa ring nagugutom na magsasaka? Bam! Napakaganda.
Yeah, exactly.
Diba? Exactly.
It's and here's a story. I met him in 2016. Mang Romeo. He was 70, a rice farmer. He was 7. I asked him how old he was. Kasi Cuba na eh. 73 years old. He was still farming,
Wow.
Dapat pag 73, retired
Dapat
na.
retired na yan. Nagbibilang na ng pera dapat. Oh.
And then I asked him, ilang taong ka nung nag-umpisa kang magsaka? He said, 12. 61 years. 6 decades he has been feeding the nation, and yet he is still farming, and yet he is still poor. That is not right.
That's
Hindi yan tama. And any individual who will not say that is not right, anong klaseng tao ka? Ano klaseng ang pagkatao mo? Dapat yun retired na. He should be and he fed us for 61 years.
Exactly.
Fed us, the people. And this is how we treat them in the end. As a society, that is not right. That's what we're fighting for. And I think many more should take on this fight. Because really, it's about injustice. Diba? And it really speaks of what kind of society we are. And so for those who are listening, if you diba, if you think that's not right, then maybe we should start doing something about it. Diba?
Yeah, we should. Totoo. We should definitely do something about it. And alam mo, if you work somewhere for 61 years, you'll be greatly rewarded. Like, kunwari kung nagtrabaho sa isang kumpanya for 61 years,
yeah,
for
diba?
sure, sa 30-year anniversary mo, may pa-Omega watch na yan, di ba? May mga ganun yan eh. Oh.
But the opposite is true for
Diamond
our
hat.
fathers.
Yeah.
So yung si Glock, tama yun. That's the irony. Kung sino pa nagpapakain sa atin, sila mismo hindi makakain. At mahirap.
Sobrang saklap talaga. And we're coming from a land na very rich ang soil. Malalaman mo na
volcanic soil is very rich, yes.
our land is very rich. Malalaman mo siya, even we don't need to research. You just go out, pumunta ka sa mga sidewalk, there's grass growing out of the concrete. Isipin mo tinapalan na siya ng semento. Tapos may tumutubo pa rin ganun kalupit yung soil natin. And that's
also
why
our rainwater.
Tama. Yeah, we have very nice climate.
About 160 billion cubic meters of water rainfall, but we only harvest 30 billion. So the 130 other billions of cubic liters of water goes back to the sea, etc. You harvest just another maybe 10% or 20% of that, then you will have irrigation all year round. Because you diba? And irrigation is key to growing anything. Wala kang tubig, walang tutubo.
It's such a talaga. We mentioned din kanina na hindi masyadong valued nga yung farmers and yung mga fisher folks natin and everything. Pero I have a feeling, and ewan ko kung just an insight of positivity lang, no? Kasi right now yung pagkakape, yung coffee culture, sobrang laki niya lalo na sa mga cities and ngayon. Everybody's nuts about coffee. They think about what beans that goes into their blends and everything like that.
Yeah.
I
I'm
have
a coffee
feeling,
farmer too, I'm a coffee farmer. I have around 800 coffee trees. Yeah. Robusta and Barako.
Something like that. People are romanticizing towards coffee as if sobrang parang, okay, meron akong paboritong blend, ganito yung gusto kong kape and everything.
Yeah.
It's such a cool thing now to know about, to be knowledgeable in coffee. So I have a feeling it's a good step towards, agriculture.
That's true. Also the pandemic.
Yes.
Nung nag-lockdown, biglang lahat naging plantito at plantita. Kasi
wait, that's great, Senator. Like, it took a lockdown for you to realize.
Diba? Saan natin kukunin yung pagkain natin? Saan natin kukunin yung gulay natin? Dapat safe. Pupunta tayo sa palengke, nakakatakot, baka ma-COVID tayo. Dito na tayo magtanim sa ating mga bakuran. And that's what a lot of people have been doing. Kangkong, ilalagay mo lang doon sa tutubo yun eh. Pati yung talbos ng kamote. Di ba? And talbos ng kamote is such a nutritious vegetable. Talagang some will say the king of nutritious vegetables yan, tsaka kale. Iron, calcium, vitamin B, vitamin C, etc. Lahat. Talagang hindi ka mamamalnourish. Of course,
kumakain kang talbos ng kamote.
Nagsasawa ka lang kung yun ang ginagawa mo araw-araw. Pero hindi ka...
Diba? Dami kamote!
sa mga taong hindi pa nakakatikim kunwari ng talbos ng kamote, I recommend kodawari. It is Filipino na gyudon served with talbos ng kamote. Very, very
Yeah.
good. I just
Fancy.
had that kanina.
Ako,
Sarap.
paborito ko yung talbos ng kamote. Lalagyan mo ng konting sibuyas Tagalog, suka, tapos konting bagoong. Ang sarap. Di ba?
Grabe. 'Di ba it's such a I think pupunta tayo dun eh. Pupunta tayo sa point in time na we have farm to table restaurants now. We have
Yeah.
young business people that are investing in that. So I have a
And you
feeling
have young social entrepreneurs who
yes. Yun.
di ba? Merong isang programa na they buy from the farmers direct and they with the packaging and it's distributed sa mga Shell convenience stores. So direkta. Di ba?
Rekta na. So
Yeah,
direkta sa farmers yung kita and everything. Cut
Yeah.
out the middleman.
Yeah, and si Jollibee Foundation, they have a tie-up with a number of farmers. You know, they're saying maganda ang quality ng pagbumili ka direkta sa farmer kaysa sa trader. Kasi yung
Totoo.
trader, dahil ang laki na ng kita niya, he does not really, not all, no, but you know, many traders, they don't really care whether the quality is not so bad kasi kumita na sila eh. Times 5, times 6, times 7 ang patong nila eh. So kung may mga tapon, okay lang yun. Kahit na 30% na lang ng produkto eh dadating sa merkado dahil sa poor handling, etc. Okay lang. Kumita pa rin sila doon sa 30%. Pero yung farmer, poprotektahan niya yung pangalan niya, sinakripisyo niya. Biro mo yung ilang buwan niya, 3 buwan, 3 linggo, 3 araw niyang inalaga yung kanyang palay. Tapos kung saan-saan lang niya, di ba? The farmer will always value his crop. And that's his honor and his self-respect is in that crop. Hindi niya yung bibigyan ng pangit na kalidad dahil it will reflect on him eh.
Exactly.
Kaya si Jollibee, they would buy onions from the farmer direct and the quality of the onions talagang superior. Kasi nga, may kwento ako mabilis eh. Anong ginagawa ng trader? Ako mismo nakita ko yung biyahero eh. Yung jeep niya, nakaparada. Bumibili siya nung mga sa area, nung mga langka. Kami, inaalagaan namin yung langka. Nilalagyan pa nga namin ng sako para hindi ka ma-peste. Nasa sako yung kargador. Biglang binalandra doon sa jeep. So sabi ko, ano naman gagawin? Mabubugbog yan. Maraming mabubulok dyan. Tapos nung nabalandra, medyo kulang. Nakausli pa yung halos kalahati. Hindi pa na kontento doon sa balandra. Tinadyakan pa niya paloob.
Wow.
Wag. Parang ako, di ba, binabantayan ko yan para magandang quality. Hindi pa na kontento doon sa tinadyakan. Pagpasok sa loob ng jeep, inupuan pa yung sako ng langkas. And that also explains why poor quality.
Yeah, darating siya ng poor quality.
Diba?
Saka the way they transport, nakita ka na ba ng nag-transport ng gulay na jeep? Di ba talaga?
Yeah, dito sa Pangasinan may nakita ko.
Paano yung nasa ilalim? Walang crates.
Exactly, walang crates.
Paano yung nasa ilalim? Tapon yun. And there is a study of the Benguet State University. And this also affects food prices. Kasi by the time it reaches the table in Manila, 67% of the crop is wasted, tapon na.
67%?
Up to 67%. Kasi walang cold storage, walang crates. Ilalagay sa yung garbage bag, di ba? Tapos patong-patong. So up to 67% because of poor post-harvest. Handling, storage, logistics. And all that, if you just address post-harvest requirements, we will have more food than we can, di ba, finish. So, babagsak talaga.
Sobrang,
crates
na pala, no?
Nabanggit mo yung kamatis. Nabanggit mo yung kamatis, tomato. Do you know that in Zamboanga, they produce up to 500 million cans of sardines every year? Guess where they get the tomatoes?
Do they get it here? Import it? What? Talaga?
Habang yung ating tomato farmers, di ba? tinatapon lang kasi. So there is really a disconnect of the supply chain that has to be
Do they
worked out.
import it kasi mas convenient na? Kumbaga darating sa kanila, mas
Yeah.
madali. Isang order na
Steady
lang.
ang
Ganun.
supply,
Mm-mm.
constant ang quality,
Yeah.
di ba? And reliable kasi nga may sistema na sila. Eh dito nga yun nga, tinatadyakan yung langka, di ba?
Oo nga naman. Grabe.
Hindi na kontento sa binato. After niyang batuhin, tinadyakan niya, tapos inupuan pa niya.
Inupuan pa niya.
Yun.
Sobrang.
Naalala ko, Red,
Mm-mm.
dahil Red yung sa distribution nga, importante nga yung crates. Kasi dito may nakita ko, jeepney, walang crates. Punong-puno ng patatas. As in full.
Ayun.
So wala silang crates.
Ayun.
Tapos tama ako sa barkada ko, pumuslit siya kasi
Nakausli lang eh. Oo, totoo. Pwede nga.
Hindi, tsaka
kasi walang crates.
Saka ma-encounter mo pa, 'di ba? Doon sa ibabaw ng sako, meron pa nakahiga, natutulog na na kargador.
Grabe yung condition.
And all that, can be done, Tayo nagturo sa mga Thailanders ng agriculture. Nakilala ko yung deputy director ng Rubber Institute sa Thailand. And natural rubber powerhouse ang Thailand in terms of exports. They were at one point the largest exporter of natural rubber in the world. Yung deputy director nagtapos sa UP Los Baños. Di ba? So we have the skill. That's why in the end I ask you, we have the knowledge, we have the information, we have the skill, we have the resources, natural resources, but we don't have the respect for agriculture. We don't have it. We neglect them. We take them for granted. We steal from them collectively, di ba? Yun yung lipunan natin. Yun ang dapat baguhin. Once that is changed, for example, sa Thailand, yung previous king, the beloved King Bhumibol, he had a 50 hectare palace in Bangkok. And 5 hectares of that 50 hectare, he made it into a model farm. Sa lahat ng mga, for rice, for technology, for dairy. So lahat ng doon niya ginawa. In other words,
badass.
Badass?
Badass.
Maangas.
No, that is putting agriculture,
exactly.
front and center. Priority.
I mean, in my own backyard, di ba? Parang ganun.
Making it a priority. I mean, it's the equivalent of Malacanang Palace, turning Malacanang Palace or a hectare into demo farms.
Yeah.
Diba? And then, therefore, and ang sabi nga nung Thai king, the backbone of the nation is the farmer. Which means if your backbone is weak, you cannot stand. The nation can.
Totoo.
Dapat ganun.
And hindi pwedeng sabihing imposible because ancestors pa lang natin nagpa-plant ng palay sa bundok eh. I mean, kinarve nila yung bundok to put rice on it. So can be done. Can be done talaga.
Yeah.
So
and it should be done. And I think and Malaysia, I was reading the development plan of Malaysia. They identified actually the colonial structures. The colonial structures when they were a colony of the Dutch. If I'm not mistaken. As exploitative, oppressive, and syempre, you want, di ba? Colony ka eh. Ikaw, magsasaka ka, di ba? Pakahem, o kaya sugar, etc. I will exploit you. I'm the So that, kasi kailangan ko kumita eh. So babayaran kita ng karampot para malaki ang markup ko, para ang laki ng kita ko. It's an exploitative, oppressive setup. Di ba? That has to be changed. Nung nawala na yung mga dayuhan, ang nagpalit yung local elite. Bakit yung local elite? Di ba? Siyempre, gusto niya kumita rin.
Yeah.
Gusto niyang malaki kita niya. So
you think it's culture inherited from our colonists, parang ganun.
Systemic.
Okay.
It's a system of exploitation that worked for them, obviously. And in order to justify why you're treating them in an exploitative way, you tell them they're more inferior. Kaya nga,
Totoo.
pupulutin
Kaya
sa
they think
kampungan.
they're inferior and they don't,
Yeah,
they
and
don't
they
feel like
begin
they
to
have a voice
believe that they're
anymore.
inferior. You know, yung magsasaka sasabihin magsasaka lang ako.
Oo, yun. Yun nga. Magsaka lang
Di ba?
ako. Mangingisda
Elitista.
lang ako. So,
Yeah. It's the exploitative mindset, di ba?
yeah.
Na
Gets. Wala kang
justify.
self-value. Wala kang self-value sa sarili mo. You don't feel
Yes,
like you
yes.
deserve what
Kaya
you're
nga,
supposed to deserve. Yeah.
kaya nga, in-imbibe na rin nung mga insulares, peninsulares, yung mga local elite, di ba? Na ikaw ay hampas lupa,
Mm.
di ba? Tapos tinake over yung exploitative middleman. Yung middleman is such an exploitative. Pinauutang niya yung farmer. He provides a service, but at what cost?
Yeah.
Di ba?
Parang loan shark.
Yeah,
Mhm.
di ba? Kalahati na nung tanim mo sa akin na kasi nag-advance ka sa akin nung nagkasakit si kumare pa kunwari, di ba? I mean, yeah.
Tama.
Nagkasakit, kailangan ng panggastos. Di ba akong gumastos? So bawas yun sa So paano mo babaya? So that's why government intervention has to come in.
Yeah.
You
Definitely.
increase the budgetary support for agriculture because it's the one that and I remember in China, sa kanila, number one in the agenda of the Chinese Communist Party every 2 years is food security. So I asked them why. Food security is national security. If we cannot feed 1.3 billion, almost 1.4 billion people, we will have social unrest. We will have many Chinas. And that's pretty
Definitely.
much what's happening to but why is there insurgency? Why is there rebellion? Hunger is one of the drivers. Poverty.
Oo.
Like, ang dami ng
Pati
unemployed.
crime.
Diba?
Crime is,
Yeah.
a lot of crimes are driven by
A lot of people
hunger,
are
poverty, and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so kailangan
Okay.
i-modernize ang agriculture.
Senator, I hate to cut off. I would love to talk more about agriculture. Definitely, it's such a thing that I'm really wanna talk
Sabi mo,
about.
gusto mo mag-farming. Diba? One
Gusto
day.
ko nga po.
Oh,
Pero
you will-
ipon
you will
muna
come-
pambili
and
ng
when you
lupa.
do, and when you do, you will realize one day is not enough to
Yeah.
talk about, all the aspects of farming. Isang
Definitely.
crop lang, lettuce, ang daming protocol. Di ba? Yung piggery, raising of native pigs, maraming kailangan gawin. But it's fun. It's fun. It's meaningful. Sabi ko nga, I never felt so much peace
There's peace and fulfillment, no?
and
Within-
fulfillment. And it taught me to be patient,
Mhm.
to accept, di ba, that there are certain things that are not in your hands, and to just plod on, di ba?
Oo.
Kasi
Oo.
talagang
So,
you pray for rain when there is no rain, and then when there's too much rain, you pray that rain should stop, di ba? Ganyan ang farmer. Talagang masalimuot, but really, nothing compares to the happiness of a bountiful harvest.
Yeah.
Really, the happiness of a bountiful and the generosity of the farmers. Kasi lagi he produces always in excess. So siyempre, he's very generous. But at the same time, nothing is more painful, diba, than a harvest loss.
yes.
And that's why dun ako talagang napabilib sa ating mga magsasaka na nagtatanim pa rin. Diba?
Very good.
And just to give you one last description. In my farm, 1 square meter can produce about 1 to 2 to 3 kilos of lettuce, depending on the weather.
Wow.
So at one point, I had 2 tons of lettuce in 1 month.
Yeah.
2 tons, 2,000 kilos.
Dami nun.
Yeah, that was, and you see it, it's so green and so delicious kasi it's
Daming
organic.
salad nun.
Yeah.
Samgyupsal.
But with the same hardship, the same sacrifice, the same labor, I got 45 kilos. during the rainy season. Kaya,
So iba
ganun
talaga.
kapait. That's what I mean by
Oh, ang layo.
yung harvest na bountiful, talagang, extreme joy. Pero yung tamaan ka ng kalamidad,
Mhm.
saan ka nakita? 2 tons to 45 kilos.
Layo. Sobrang
Di ba? Ang
layo.
sakit nun? Di ba?
Yeah.
Kaya, grabe. Believe ako sa farmers.
Yeah.
And we should all have the same healthy respect for them.
Senator, thank you so much for so many insights. Sobrang nakakatuwa.
Grabe.
If you want, we'll have you over again. We'll talk about farming again for another
Sure.
hour.
No,
Or
we
something
talk
else.
about other things. Oh,
K-pop.
ganda.
Ay, ako kasi very interested. Ako din,
Yeah.
yung mom ko very much into he turned yung local park ng subdivision namin into a garden, vegetable garden. So,
Yeah. And
ganun
if you
talaga
really
siya.
want to learn about farming, I mean, one thing you can do is visit the farm.
Yeah, exactly. Yun nga.
Yeah, because you see it front, di ba?
Maiinggit ka lang actually. Ako minsan na pag pupunta ako sa mga farm, parang shit, gusto ko ng ganito kalaking lupa and alam mo yun, and everything. Pero sige, okay, I digress. Thank you so much, Senator.
Thank you, Red. Thank
you
you,
so much.
Red. And
Thank
to our
Everybody
viewers.
else, tomorrow,
Angas.
if you may mga taong that
Angas.
caught like the later part of this stream, you can still catch the audio version of this tomorrow on Spotify. It will be released 7 p.m. Just follow Bago Matulog with Red Ollero on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much, Senator Pangilinan.
Thank
you
you,
so
thank
much,
you,
Senator.
thank you, Red.
It was fun.
And Andren, maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat. Thank you so much. Next time
Okay,
daw,
stay
pag-usapan daw natin si Miss Sharon Cuneta daw next time. Sabi
Sure.
ng ibang fans.
Sure.
All right.
Why
Sige,
not?
sige. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much, sir.
Salamat. Pwede na